our panel of guests for the privilege of having you on stage today. I'm sure there are a lot of relevant people here when it comes to, an operator or advertisers, media buyers, which is essentially what we're talking about today, right? So let's start, because I think this is a very relevant topic to, tackle on when it comes to media buying overall, right? So we had a little bit of a chat, but I really want to get into, and pick your brain about different nuances and also the trends. So for you, Guy, when it comes to you guys as media buyers, all right? Media buyers, basically acquiring ads online. That's paid ads through different channels and different traffic sources. But for you, in 2023, what have been the main challenges as media buyers have you faced when it comes to, rising costs, right? And, how do you diversify yourself in that sense?
Yeah, so media buying in basically any vertical is challenging because the environment is keep changing all the time. And for us in Media Troopers, when we are operating only in regulated markets, it's even more challenging. For us, we always need to be sure that both parties we are dealing with, the operators and the sources, are fully compliant with the regulations requirements in each market. And we need to make sure both channels and app providers are aligned, and we can run safely and scale with the most efficient way.
And speaking about efficiency, how do you, for example, as media buyers, really modify your campaigns? I mean, how do you modify? How do you optimize? What kind of tools do you use mostly?
So, first of all, thanks to our licensing program, we're enjoying connecting to all the premium channels in the industry. All the social posts with DSPs and SDK networks we're working with. And the big challenge is the matches. Each product that we're running have a different performance in each platform we are testing. Right. So the big challenge at the beginning is to find the right source to the right product. Again, it needs to be compliant with the license requirements each state and each market. Having said that, we need to remember that sometimes the investment of regulation is starting to pay itself like after a year or two. But still our main focus is to keep extending with our license program in order to be more relevant and basically to gain the reputation of the product that we're promoting.
And in terms of reputation, for sure, working with multiple brands, predominantly it's all about tracking, it's all about the data part of things. Now, Marcin, with you, for example, what is your equation? I mean, how do you guys actually help media buyers in this case?
Exactly. So that's the point, as you mentioned, Guy, that there are multiple products, different verticals. So not only gaming vertical for some projects, or if it's gaming vertical only, it might be multiple geos. So a lot of endpoints, many different products, A/B testing, plus multiple sources. Whereas in SEO affiliation, usually it's one product, a comparison site. In media buying, with one website, one account, one traffic provider would not work. So you need to test, and the industry is very dynamic. Every traffic platform, they have many different sources, and it's changed over time. It could change on a monthly or weekly basis, right? So you need to stay on top every time.
And that's an example, excellent example. Sometimes we're running multiple brands, but basically the same product. If it's fantasy or something else, that we can compare between performance across all channels.
Exactly.
Thanks to your platform. That's one of the main tools we're using in Volume when we're running traffic.
All right.
Because there's always a testing phase, right? So that's the essence of media buying, that you need to have a testing phase, and then as soon as possible, gather a lot of data to decide on the final endpoint.
Exactly.
And if you do it manually, this time it's 10 or 12x longer, and with the daily budget you spend, it's 10 or 12x more expensive, simply. So with that perspective, without an automation, without something that can quickly show you the best brand for certain geo, for certain settings, maybe a source within a platform or operation system version, keywords if you run with PPC traffic, you would not be profitable. Especially that, as you mentioned, in gaming industry, it takes time to see the final results for you as an agency, affiliate company, you work on rev share. Right?
So it's a long-term strategy in this case, right?
Exactly.
When it comes to the whole funnel. Now, from the traffic side of things, Andre, on your side, of course, leading this direction, right? So the guys talked about, quite a good strategy and a good funnel, but what do you see yourself? What kind of mistakes, like big no-nos, do media buyers, for example, that we have here, I'm sure, are actually, implementing? I mean, what is your take on this? What have been your experience with unconventional or, quite big mistake kind of strategies that really impact their media buying, costs, all of that?
Well, first of all, I must say that don't be scared. It's the first thing about media buying.
Yeah.
And then we've been continuing. I believe that's not understanding what are you buying for, who you're buying for, like what's your audience, what your audience like, which language does it speak. Even if, like, for example, you are targeting countries like United States, obviously it's like English speaking, but if you're going for the South States, it's Spanish. And another one, it's like what Marcin already mentioned a lot, and Guy as well, is that it's a blind buying. And I really do hate this when an advertiser comes to you and says, well, I don't think your traffic converts. I'm like, what have you done? Have you checked it? What have you optimized?
Right? I just paid for it.
Yeah.
But this is not how it works.
Additional to that you don't have a real-time data from the operators.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's I think this is the biggest challenge for our end.
Agreed.
It's absolutely like, seeing that advertiser is blindly buying all the traffic. I mean, of course, there is some sources which are going to be converting for you and some is not going to be converting. So you need to optimize. You need to see which, operation system works much better for you. For example, if you're going to Brazil market, people use their Android more. So let's check there. Let's see the sources which convert.
I think, Franz, the big challenge here is not only to find the right matches between the sources and where they can convert. It's more, I find the biggest challenge for media buying is in which source you can scale, okay? Because
What's the
to
limit,
convert,
right?
it's one thing,
Right.
okay? But to scale and meet your targets in terms of caps, the profits you are aiming, it's not all about the conversions and the ROI, it's also how much traffic you can get
Yeah, what's the volume for that particular source, right?
with the requirement quality.
Yeah, and speaking of challenges, I want to go to the next phase now. With you, Martin, for example, what kind of advantages do advertisers, media buyers we're talking about here, actually have with tracking, tracking data, with optimizing their campaigns? What other advantages can they have when it comes to the whole cycle of advertising?
Yeah. So this is what you mentioned, Guy, the real-time tracking. That's the essence. Because imagine that you spend $10 or $5,000 daily for the traffic and you buy thousands, hundred thousands of impressions. And out of that, when you check, in case of affiliate, when you check your operator affiliate program, you see some FTDs. But you have no idea which of these impressions, what targeting, makes it successful. So you cannot narrow down. You might do it maybe manually, selecting some placements or some random guess-based gut feeling traffic. but it's not scalable at all. And you still spend these $5,000 or $10,000 daily. So it means you need to have much more return on investment from the rev share or from simple FTDs. So that's the essence, real-time tracking, which cuts down the testing budgets, and it all comes down to ROI. So as soon as you can get some hints on the profitable sources, this is the only way how to do it. It's much different than SEO affiliation.
The right match is when you find a situation, when you feel and see by numbers that you manage to bring the added value that the user is looking for. So sometimes the same product need to be tested with different creatives.
Right.
Sometimes you need to identify what are the measurements that can predict the success with some products in specific states that you can feel comfortable to push.
Exactly. So it's linear, right? It's not that you just set up a campaign and then pray for the results. But you need to be very proactive with multiple different A/B testing options. And as soon much as you can automate it and shorten the period for gathering the data, it brings the results.
That's actually another thing, and what Guy mentioned is that the creatives, I mean, don't do the lousy creatives, be a little bit more creative. When you're looking for targeting Asian gears, there is some sparkle maybe included there, maybe for European conservative markets, also be more conservative. That's so much simple, and people that just don't understand it, wasting the budget without, again, the tracking, without creativity, and that's what we encourage them to do.
Now, Guy, I mean, for sure, when it comes to operators, gaming operators, there's a lot of talk, and it's obviously the trend with, wanting to do affiliation, CPAs and rev shares, but what actually separates a brand that does media buying as well?
Without media buying, you cannot control the traffic you're sending to your advertisers. Now, affiliation, it's part of the channels that we have, but to run only with CPA, it makes you with no control of what traffic you are sending to your customers.
And it's very expensive.
It's much more expensive if you're leaning only on that, because when you have the benchmark with the direct sources, you can be much more controlling the way you are optimizing. You're split between channels, because even if you have a good channel that provides you a very nice amount of conversions, you don't want to lean on one source. And that's one of the things that we're trying to always aim for, to have at least 3-4 different channels that we manage to convert with same products.
Because it may change in time, right? So the channels change, and this industry is very dynamic.
The options Propeller Ads afford us, targeting not only for states, but also for specific cities, for example, or to build whitelisting campaigns with the convertible sources while controlling the bids for each source. That's the situation allows us to optimize and meet the potential with each product.
Now, Marcin, when it comes to tracking in this case, because we're talking about media buying and optimization, and in this case, what Guy mentioned is more intricacies in in-depth, narrow targetings, right? But what do you see on your side? Because, I mean, you are working with different traffic sources, right? And you see your media buyers. What kind of trends do you see on your side when it comes to tracking? And, what are we going to be able to see in let's say Q2, Q3?
Yeah, so it's interesting that in the gaming industry, the awareness of paid media, not only programmatic, it might be also social and search. And when we speak about programmatic traffic, it's still relatively unknown, but the awareness of that, it's becoming more present, which means the sources, they also focus more on getting better publishers within them. So there's more inventory. The cost of the traffic rises a little bit, but especially if there are projects which are seasonal, Like there's a tournament in, let's say, Brazil or India, or a cricket tournament, seasonality. Then with media buying, I believe, for instance, we expect in India to have in Q2 a huge amount of traffic and bidding. So this is an opportunity for everyone who would like to scale it. And I think this is very important to mention that with the gaming media buying opportunity on programmatic is very scalable. So that's a huge advantage on that.
You know, I think a lot of operators, advertisers are still quite reliant on, affiliates, right? But we see a more diversification the past couple of years, not just when it comes to affiliates, but also influencer marketing. SEO is quite booming for them and all of that. But Andre, on your side, what is trending? What kind of traffic sources, for example, right? What kind of traffic types do you see or media buyers utilizing more and more?
Yeah, even like talking today to different companies, I see that there is a tendency of diversifying your channels. And I like that I don't hear that I hear Facebook or Google as one sources, but I hear that advertisers are really going to something new. And we already mentioned here that there is some programmatic going on, that for some countries, like for example, again, I will mention Brazil, where users use Android a lot and everything is happening there. There are some formats like push notifications, which is almost like native format there. Another thing worth mentioning, I see that companies have started more and more doing this, is not only performance-based campaigns, but brand awareness, where...
That's a good point. So,
Which is relevant for new brands, I assume, right?
It's not necessarily. I would say new brands don't have so much money in the beginning.
Branding is coming with a huge budget.
Yes.
Sometimes it's more mutual brands.
but then with a proper, at least in our case, we have a project which started only on programmatic, but they built branding on top. So simply they added more KPIs for their internal measurements, not only focused on signups and FTDs, but also on the impressions and targeting where their impressions are.
Well, I can say that this year we just started with a new, not the new brand, but with a brand, and they are focusing fully on brand awareness, and it's really exciting to me, maybe a little bit even strange to hear, not strange, but exciting again, I would say, to hear that they're going for like New Zealand, Australia markets, and they have a huge budget there. It's like almost 6 digits budgets, and we're asking, how are you doing? How is the performance? You're not optimizing that much. Let's maybe focus a bit on optimization. And like, it's so much traffic coming from you that we see so many organic registrations going on there.
Yeah, because you can simply, with real-time data, you can see what's happening, right? So to measure the impressions in central regions, and then the conversions, where they form in your sign-up form, right? So it's still scalable and measurable.
And I think the main takeaway here is diversification from all of your feedback and all of your comments, and also from previous panelists, right? It's really about diversification. And in this case, with media buying, we do support, testing different types of traffic, A/B testing, as you guys mentioned. So one final question to each of you, and also for the audience to, pick their brains a little bit. What kind of verticals do you see or predict, in this case, that will be trending and we'll be seeing more and more in 2024 going to 2025, Guy?
So according to the US market, we need to remember that we are in an election year. So not expected to see lots of dramatic changes during the upcoming year. We do have in a couple of weeks launch in new state, North Carolina. Beside that, during 2023, we saw a very nice development in fantasy games apps.
Okay.
Yeah, we see these products keep growing and growing and become more dominant for us as well. And of course, basically for us, each app that requires high engagement from the users, we can capable to find the right channel for it.
Marcin?
I would answer in terms of geos. So for the gaming industry, what we observe is a huge demand, and also from the demands comes the supply for Africa and for other emerging markets, Brazil and LATAM. So this is, if I would say, where would be the more focus for new advertisers and also new projects in terms of media buying, so a huge inventory, this would be these markets, Africa and LATAM, especially Brazil.
And Andre, what do you think of this?
Well, I think Guy and Marcin said quite a lot about that. I would like to mention a very important thing is that read the news and look at the seasonality factors, because there is a sports season, go for the sports related verticals. If it's autumn, maybe e-commerce. There is a Black Friday, there is a Cyber Monday, there is 11/11, 9/9, 10/10. So really focus on these small things, because we already mentioned it. It's election year, and there is going to be a lot of interesting things with it, like evergreen vertical, which is lead generation, and really, yeah, that's pretty much it, I think.
We're out of time, but I'm sure a lot of people here have a lot of questions for each of you. Let's give a really great round of applause for our panelists, everyone with all of the insights.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having the time to really share valuable information about media buying, because it's a whole circle, it's a whole ecosystem of how you can diversify and how you can buy traffic more efficient, right? And in this case, higher ROI.
Opportunities, that's the key takeaway, I believe.
Exactly. Opportunities, and if I need to give one tip, is communication. When I see an account, a channel that I feel that we don't meet the potential, my first question to my team is, how is the relationship with the other side? Because once
Data.
yes,
And let's
once you can share knowledge, you can communicate properly, the results are coming.
conclude with that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having the
Thank you
time
for
to
your
join us.
time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Renz. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Let's have a
Marcin.
picture. Yeah.
Yes, grab a picture.
Yeah,
Thank
all
you
right.
so much, Ray. An amazing panel. Truly insightful in the affiliate marketing space as well. That's what this afternoon all is about. It's providing you